Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Today, we are having this very, very special session on the occasion of National Startup Day. How many of you have heard the word startup? Raise your hand if you are. Yeah? All right. And are these all IT startups that you have heard of? Yes? And we also have some of our PhD students in the room, and I hope that they have heard about the non-IT startups as well. And today our conversation here is going to be around those non-IT startups, basically around biotech startups, because CCMB is a Center for Cellular and Molecular Biology. We are a biology research institute. So on this National Startup Day, in collaboration with AIC CCMB, which is Atal Incubation Center, and the CCMB Science Club, we have put together a conversation between two people. One of them has started a startup, and the company's name is Oncosimys Biotech. And the other person has started an incubation center. An incubation center is a place where all these startup companies stay and work for some years, and then they grow big. So that's essentially the conversation going to be around. So we have Dr. Sudarshan Reddy, who is the founder of a company called as Oncosimys Biotech. And we have Dr. Madhusudan Rao, who has had a long, illustrious career as a scientist in CCMB and then became the founding CEO of the Atal Incubation Center, CCMB. Oncosimys has grown in the last about 9-10 years from being a startup company incubating at our incubation center to now moving out of it and building their own space. And Dr. Sudarshan Reddy has been instrumental in its growth, clearly as a founder. And under his leadership, the company has gotten many grants, many prestigious awards, and we are going to hear all his story today. And from Dr. Madhusudan Rao, we'll be listening about what an incubation center really means and what does it really do to facilitate the growth of these startup companies. So Dr. Sudarshan Reddy and Dr. Madhusudan Rao, may I invite you up on stage? And joining or leading this conversation with them today will be Priyadarshini Singh, who's a senior PhD student at CCMB. She studies cancer biology in lab, but she's also the president of the CCMB Science Club, the ACSIR Science Club. And this is the first event that they are hosting today. So all the best, Priyadarshini. The stage is all yours.
Thank you, Somdatta. Thank you, Dr. Madhu and Dr. Sudarshan, for joining us. So today, our discussion is all going to be centered around startups. So we know that Indian ecosystem of life sciences is continuously transitioning from research to startups. So towards this, we will start our discussion about knowing actually what startups are. Like, what do we understand from the word startup? Dr. Madhu.
Yeah. Thank you, CCMB, for organizing this event. Startup literally means startup in the sense that, startups are business entities that you must remember. Business entities, they have in last couple of decades all over the world, they understood the importance of doing things in a small way. Okay. Usually, if you look around, major discoveries are things like that happen in large companies. There are a lot of large corporates. But many times there are so many other solutions that are attractive, which large corporates cannot take up. So these startups, is somebody is very bright and they have a very good idea. They want to go about, take that idea into something that is beneficial, both to the society and for himself. So startups is something like that where it's an entrepreneurial activity where if you have an idea, it's in biology or engineering, whatever it is. So you take it up and then explore it and you are the owner of that particular idea. If it takes forward and it becomes successful, you have something to show. It gives you a career opportunity these days because there is so much of support system around for startups. Earlier, it never used to be so much. But in last 10 years, there is a huge support system for startups to encourage them, because sometimes it's not easy to, even as a person of a startup who started a startup, you may have a good idea, but at the same time, when you tell people to take it up, they may not be, but you can take it up and then and make it happen. Okay. These are the ways you can go about and create a startup. And now people realize startups have a very important role in self-reliance, in bringing more economy to the country and all these things. I'll stop here, but I think
Thank you, Doctor. So, as a PhD student in biology, I have always been interested to understand how a small idea can make up into a big company. So, we have Dr. Sudarshan here, who is the founder of Oncosimis, as Dr. Somdatta already introduced. So, to Dr. Sudarshan, I would like to ask, how was your journey in starting this company? Like, what was the idea that intrigued you, and that, or some gap that you found that could be answered through your startup?
Thank you, Priyadarshini, and thank you all. And as Madhu said, is a startup is your idea. Just you're bringing idea into the market where is a needing. So that's your focus. So, for example, you were traveling from your colleges or universities, you got exhausted. So that how idea born is like you need some energy. So if you discovered an energy bar, that's your innovation. I'm not saying it's innovations. I'm saying that it's innovations. You're bringing instant energy to the customer. So that's your idea. So how you idea become marketable? So you think this way. So you have idea. So you want to give instant energy. There can be any drink or it's a chewable thing. And that how you going to market it, how you making money out of it. It's a business strategy. So your idea start with you and end with the customer. So this is a way you have to think about as a startup. Startup, like your parents might be doing and several of them doing, but it's English word is a startup, but idea for me is a startup is an idea. So whether it's a IT idea, A idea, it doesn't matter. It's idea. It's idea. You are making it workable and you are commercializing, and means it's reaching to the needy people. So how good you are doing and you become that successful person. So in my case, and actually like what happened is the lab I work at, and my boss was a consultant almost 20 companies. So that was I see every day the CEOs is coming to my office and saying that time there is idea they required a protein engineering that can be disrupted it. And actually working my time, and I had a lot of trouble to executing some experiment that become my technology. So that problem become my technology. And I asked my boss, can I take and start a company? He said, okay. So my journey was started with the trouble with thing. And when you are working with any idea, so you have to see that whether this idea is anybody needed. So what is a market this idea? So you have a simple idea, but how many people is going to use that idea? So is there any market? Is a workable idea? Idea is a great, but is it a workable idea? Or is it been a commercializable idea? Sometimes you say that you develop a novel process and everything that can be used for R&D purpose, but it's not been using for patients. Because that time when you're using R&D purpose alone, your commercialization capacity or means revenue capacity is much, much lesser when compared to when it going to the needy people. We have 7 billion people. If we capture them at least 1% of it, and it's a lot. So you have to think about your idea, where it can be reached, who is your customer, how you going to sell this idea to that person. That can be anything. So even like, think about a paper clip. Where is the paper clip required? So I can give one idea. Actually, the morning I saw, my son was saying that, so he need to visit his friend who is in a children's hospital. And then I took him there, and I saw this opposite to the hospital, there is a toy shop. It's a big business idea. So having a toy shop opposite to the children's hospital. So it doesn't require any certificates, I'm telling. So this is idea. So that person who started that shop again opposite to the children's hospital, it's idea. And wherever he get his raw material, wherever he is getting a toys, but he's selling to the customer who need it. So that's what I want to say as a startup. And that's where I started my company.
So coming back to biotechnology, for example, probably how many of you know, today the government allows up till 15% of ethanol in petrol, right? It used to be 10% earlier. Now suddenly the demand for ethanol has gone up quite high. And say, for example, there are research students here who are already working with some enzymes that work on degrade cellulose and material like that. So now suddenly there is an opportunity, and you have the knowledge, and you have the tech, probably you have the technology with you. So you develop these enzymes and use, because cellulose is agriculture waste. You take the agriculture waste, use your knowledge, and start making ethanol. So this is you are capable, but suddenly you see a opportunity there, a commercial opportunity. Apply your knowledge. Same thing happens even with many diagnostics, for example. Today, if anybody has a way to detect Alzheimer's or Parkinson's very early, probably some things like that may be happening in your research lab. You didn't pay attention to it. Probably you didn't realize there is an opportunity. But when you look around and talk to people, suddenly you realize that probably I have a marker that will detect the Alzheimer's or Parkinson's very early. Or for cancer, for many things. But basically, the idea is, from the researcher's point of view, what I'm trying to get to you is, keep looking for benefit. Is there any benefit from the research I'm doing? That's how it is. Like the kind of example that he was saying, there is an opportunity of having a toy shop before a school. But here, the opportunity we are talking about, can I have a diagnostic method that can detect Alzheimer's at the age of 40, for example, if there is a possibility. So these things, when you do research, these things come up. But you should if you continue to do your research and become a scientist or something like that, that's okay. But at the same time, all of us use government money to do our research. And also we always should look for whether my research gives benefit to somebody, whether it is health or agriculture or environment or whatever. So that's where I'm saying people always should have this translational mindset, technology translational mindset while working with them. I'm not saying that they all should be, but if you have an idea, then the idea of startups come. Okay, now you have this, now I can do a startup and go forward and create this particular product which helps in diagnosis of Parkinson's or Alzheimer's. So startups usually come from individuals to begin with, but since it's a business activity, you will have to partner with somebody who also knows the business and then start doing it. One of the things what Sudarshan was saying is, many times you think you have a great idea, but at the same time, somebody has to tell you that it's a great idea. Your own judgment is not sufficient. Do people need it? That is what is another one. So these are all come once you have this attitude to go towards that. We try to encourage students to look at the benefit part of their own research as a startup or something like that. So it's always important that whatever we do should benefit somebody. Otherwise, why are we doing it? Only for our own self-growth is one, but that happens anyway. But we always wanted to benefit a society or somewhere. So that's how a startup approaches have started for quite some time.
So this brings me to the next question that I think most of us would be thinking, like, as we are in CCMB, that is a cellular and molecular biology institute, and AIC, that is mostly supporting the biotech startups. So what are the research problems that people are approaching with? And when they are applying for AIC, what questions they are trying to answer?
Since CCMB is biology lab, the incubator that I look after is also focused on life science startups. For example, when Sudarshan came to me almost 6 years ago, his idea was all of you probably know about monoclonal antibodies, which are used in cancer therapy, right? So he has an idea in his mind based on his previous work that if I can increase the production of monoclonal antibodies using a cell line from 2 grams per liter to 4 grams per liter, it's a very big advantage. The monoclonal antibodies are not his. Only thing he's trying to improve is the process of making it more. Okay. He has his own logic for it. So that was a great idea because monoclonal antibodies are so expensive. Now, if you suddenly increase the production by twice, it's a great idea. Now that's an opportunity. Like that, people come to us during COVID time, for example. A lot of people came to us for diagnostic tests. You know, how to create, there's all of you know about PCRs, PCR diagnostic kit for COVID, because millions of our kits are required. So a lot of people came to us and then developed those kits. So people come for diagnostics mostly, but there are several other companies which work on, all of us, if you have a tooth problem, we drill the thing and remove the pulp of it, and then, what do you call that? Root canal treatment. Usually in root canal treatment, you have to take antibiotic. So what this person did was he took a protein from silk fibroin, and then made a gel and put the antibiotic in it and put an implant in the root canal, so that you don't have to swallow antibiotics to prevent infection of the root canal, but that one slowly releases the antibiotic locally. So that it's a big advantage. Using of antibiotics is not good, excess of them. So now he has a method. It's an interesting idea. Local delivery of drugs is a fantastic opportunity in many contexts. If I can deliver a drug, any cancer drug or any drug locally, it's a big advantage. So it's a small example in that context. People come with these ideas like either PCR diagnostics or these ones. And there is one company, which is an interesting company. What they want to do is, milk has a lot of proteins. In fact, milk is a big source of protein for us. They wanted to make all milk proteins using yeast. So now, probably if you make all the 4 or 5 major proteins of milk and mix them up, you got milk. There is no cow in it. Okay. So, in fact, that's a very good opportunity also. So all you have to do is 4 or 5 proteins, overexpress them in yeast, and then mix it up and you have milk. So these are the kind of technologies. There are opportunities. In fact, that company was 4 years or 5 years old, and then now they got invested quite a bit, because people see in future having cattle as a cattle source as for milk is not a good idea because of the climate reasons. So people want to look for alternates. Like that, people come with several ideas like this. And my job is to give them infrastructure and also give them some kind of a mentoring. Because most of them are like him. He has done his PhD from Singapore and then went to MIT to do his postdoc. So, and though he knows his science well, sometimes you need mentoring on how to go about building a business. Where do you get money? How do you protect your idea? The so-called intellectual property, regulatory issues, all these things we need mentoring. That's what we provide at our place.
So adding that point, especially that milk point, it's very interesting because I don't know, some of you might have lactose intolerance because when you are a baby and everything. So this alternative milk protein is so important nowadays, the people who has a lactose intolerance. And now there is one company, my friend company out of Boston, they started HMO. It says a milk, human milk oligosaccharides. So they're literally producing milk, human oligosaccharides, who has a problem with the mother milk, lactose intolerance and everything. They mix with these recombinant proteins as well as HMO, and the babies are super fine. There's no issues, no developmental issues and everything. And means there is because they're pinpointed some problem where they can't take a mother milk because of they're born with lactose intolerance. So to avoid those ones, not like avoid the lactose and everything, so they're coming up with things. And there is recently I saw one company in Europe. So literally, If you have a lactose intolerance, you don't have to worry anything. You can take whatever the milk you want. They add simple enzyme. It degrades only specific to lactose. It doesn't do anything. Says that you can drink whatever the milk you want, even mother milk, keep it for half an hour to 1 hour, and you can drink. So no intolerance at all. So see how the idea come. But that idea has been discovered is the boy who born with a lactose intolerance. Sometimes it's like a mother of invention, like a necessity is a mother of invention. So you have to think that way. And how he is commercializing that idea, his own problem into the idea. That's the most important. So we started with his idea, then he became a startup, and now is almost $1 billion company. So in the entire process, one boy can't do anything. You need a pillars. So that can be your mentor, or that can be your your business financial person, because its idea can't be immediately replicated into a product. It has a process. It required a regulatory norms and whatever it is required. So you have to follow all those things that require money also. So biotech initially it is a very cost incentive processes. So you have to have your good team that makes your idea into product. Otherwise, if you don't have a good team and you want to be a one-man army, sometimes it's very difficult to run biotech company when compared to any other companies.
So that was really interesting. We got to know about a lot of different ideas that people are coming up with and how they are materializing the idea to become a big company. But the one question that still I wanted to understand, like how many people are applying and like what are these people actually doing? Do they have PhDs or are they postdocs or are they any master's graduate that like what are the demographics of the people that are applying for incubation?
Yeah, mostly for life science startups, usually somebody who has more than a master's degree, and many of them, 90% of them are PhDs. Okay. They have some idea to like what Sudarshan had an idea during his PhD time. Like that, a lot of these people have their own ideas and they see opportunities. Say, for example, I'll tell you a simple thing. Everybody, all of us know about, many people are diabetic in this in the country, and a lot of people measure their glucose regularly. And if you look at the technology of glucose, those enzymes are even today imported. You can't believe it. Why do we, a country like us, where there are so many scientists and people who can make these damn enzymes in good quantities, why don't they make it? And we pay through our nose to other countries to get these glucose oxidases and peroxidases to do that. So the people come with these ideas. See, sometimes one is you have a very bright idea. Nobody has thought of it in the world. That is one kind of a companies, which are very, very rare. But what are the most of the companies are, they look at an opportunity and you are a competent person. You use that opportunity to build up a startup. Okay. So the people who come to us are usually good at, they must have had a PhD degree and things like that. And the demography wise, they're from all over the country in our incubator. And in last 8 years, we have supported some 200 startups, more than 200 startups. If you come to our place, you will see there is a very good infrastructure because science requires, at least life science requires good equipment. So we provide that so that they can use that equipment and take their idea, whether it is a diagnostic test or it's something else, whatever, cloning something, cloning some interesting enzymes and make them in large quantities. Or there is one company which does on stem cells. There is some company works on what are called exosomes. And there are some companies which make very value-added lipids used in cosmetics. Okay. Very interesting companies, all of them. But these are all very disruptive, first-time thought companies. But these are all great opportunities. If you look at what are the things India imports, you will be surprised. I don't know why we do import. Okay. So that's why the government also keeps talking about Atmanirbhar Bharat. We should be self-reliant and self-sufficient. So many of these startups are in that domain. 90% of the startups are trying to replace, import replacement kind of attitude is what many of them do. So demographically, they're all over the way, and we also support a lot of startups. One of the challenge for life science startups is you'll have to pay money. You have to have money to move forward. You have to buy, you have to employ people, buy consumables and all that. That's where also we give support. But the kind of companies we have is across cancer, protein production, diagnostics, healthcare, genome analysis. There are several IT companies that we have. We have companies that work on computer-based drug design. Many companies. Today, AI is the watchword. So everybody tries to apply AI in their own context, whether it is image analysis or some kind of omics data simulations and things like that. Okay.
So just I want to add that point about the qualifications, because the biotech is mostly technically driven ideas or executions. So you better to have some knowledge what you are doing, and that can be executable or non-executable. I can tell you one example where the lab I come from, and he was the one working on he discovered the proteosomes. If you know, that's one of the cellular organelle in our body, and where it degrades the proteins into the organized structures. So you want to prove that the proteasome is indeed is working and you need an inhibitor. So he developed one inhibitor, which is a dipeptide. So it turned out to be that's a drug today. It's selling almost $5 billion. So he discovered for a tool purpose, whatever he's developing is want to prove that is mechanism working. That's become a dipeptide. It's called bortezomib Velcade. And you can see tons of proteasome inhibitors in the market today, more than $10-20 billion markets. So idea it started is like when you're doing a technical knowledge, what you exactly want to do, what you exactly addressing, that can be a later point your exact commercialized product, or it can be reaching to the needy people. Because if anyone have a diagnosis with multiple myeloma, without Velcade, they're not going to survive it. There is only 6 months course, the person can live another 40 years. So you think that one, because it's why we needed some qualifications, the technical qualification. If you have technical knowledge and everything, what exactly you're doing, how you're going to address it, how simplified is that address? Is that you develop a diagnosis kit, and that's not everyone doable kind of a thing, but it requires experts and everything. It's very difficult. So that's what we encourage to do the point of care diagnosis and everything. So very non-technical person also can do it. So that's the where you required some qualifications to germinate your idea into a product, or it can be commercialized and reaching to the needy people.
I just quickly add there on that. Today, a large population lives in villages, and their access to good health, caretaker kind of health is very low. Can we develop technologies where you can bring it to the tier 2, tier 3 cities or villages and towns, the kind of facilities that you have access in cities? That's what I meant when he says point of care. Come up with the standard diagnosis either for infections or whatever, or some blood pressure, sugar, or all these cases. Can we come up with technologies that are affordable and dispersible? The technology that's a very interesting thing. Can I take a filter paper and then spit on it and then use that as a source of my sample to diagnose some throat cancer, for example? People do that. In fact, there is one girl in one of the colleges here, she used chewing gum. Use the chewing gum and give the chewing gum because it's a nice thing to chew it and give it to somebody. And it has all the DNA sample of yours that is used for diagnosis of oral cancer. Not a bad idea, right? So how do you disperse these inventions that are accessible only in metros? Can you make them accessible because India is large part of it lives without access to good healthcare.
So adding that point, and if you maybe notice that nowadays in the countryside, especially in village sites, that the women are like a lot of them is in lack of iron. They're like a lot of issues. So there is no even doesn't require a drop of blood to diagnosis how much the hemoglobin you have it. Just is as simple as your Aadhaar card identification. You put the finger, and 1 minute it will read how much hemoglobin in your body. So it's a completely non-invasive, non-puncture blood test. It will giving you And it doesn't require anything. It's a simple mission. Just you put your finger for 1 minute, it will read it out how much hemoglobin you have it. That's the idea. It's like that's done, not done by the biotech person, but the idea came from the guy from the IT sector. He said that, okay, I can use infrared scanner. He's an optic guy, infrared scanner, and I know the how much wavelength required from the hemoglobin detections, and I can do it. So you think about that way, that makes a lot of success.
So these were really very interesting insights that we got about the ideas that people are bringing and they are making startups out of it. But the question that I was thinking about is about your company, Oncosimis. Like, when did you think that it's the right time to join a incubation center, and like how long did you incubate there? And were you knowing people already who started like who had applied for incubation centers, or like how did you negotiate, like how did you go about it?
So when I started my company, because I have idea and everything, because the biotech is a capital intensive mechanism, because we require a lot of equipment. And it's not like an IT company, you need a one computer, you can do it, or you can use a web service and whatever kind of thing. But biotech doesn't work. You have to be in the lab, work with instruments and everything to execute your idea. So to do that one, initially, I don't have enough capital to do it. So I need to look for the bio incubators, means the institutes that are offering instrument, basic instruments where I can bring my ideas work or not. So that way I was searching things, and I was search like across Bangalore and Hyderabad, and I found Madhu sir, and we are the first startup company in CCMB. We started in 2017 with CRTDH, that's an organization by DSIR, and later it's become an AAC. So that's where we started this company, and we took, of course, a lot of help for them. They have a lot of infrastructures and everything. So we utilize it. And when we started revenue generating, so we moved out of it. We graduated from the incubator. Now we have our own independent facilities, and now we are upcoming with the manufacturing facilities also. What we have idea. So I
So
think
how-
that it's a must and should for the
How-
biotech.
How long did you stay there? Like,
So I stayed for 3.5 years.
So just before you get to the next one, I was asking him before getting here, what is the valuation of your company? I mean, if what is your how much you can valuation? What is your worth? Can anybody guess what his company is worth? Anybody? Huh? Yeah. Any other number? Hmm? Yeah, actually 180. He said 180 crores. So, I mean, taking a company from almost 0 to 180 crore valuation company is not a joke. We have few examples like that in Hyderabad. So it's always, I mean, also he started with one particular thing in mind, but he expanded into other areas also. Initially, it is only monoclonal antibodies and production, but he went to other ideas and because now he has the knowledge how to go about building a business. So you bring in other ideas and keep on expanding. Because there is a saying in English saying that you can't be a one-trick pony. You just can't have one idea. You have to have many, right? I mean, this happens, but start with one to begin with.
so now that I can understand that AIC receives lot of incubatees, like lot of people applying for incubation. So how do you like as an evaluator evaluate those people, and what are the parameters that you choose that okay, this person should get the opportunity to incubate, and yeah, this person needs more time to come here?
True. I mean, that's a very, very important stage of engaging with a startup. Because, like, for example, today morning, somebody called me and he says, sir, I want to be a pharmacogenomics. want to start a company in pharmacogenomics. I said, sounded good. And then I asked him, what are you? He said, I'm an IT person. Then did you develop any products before this? He said, I have developed a lot of softwares for chartered accountants. And now he wants to apply his IT knowledge or AI knowledge or whatever into pharmacogenomics, somebody must have told him that it's an interesting area. So we don't entertain those people. Okay, because not that we discourage them, but we tell them that he is not the right person for us, or this is not the right place for him. The point is, we look for ideas that are not simply cut and paste. We want some innovation in that idea, whatever it is, whether I talked about milk proteins or doing a PCR reaction in a different way, because you can do PCR for diagnosis in many different ways. Okay, so somebody comes up with a very good idea, like the fibroin I talked about for drug release. These are all interesting ideas. So we look for, there is some innovation in that idea of that startup, not simply, some service kind of a thing. We don't encourage them. That's most important thing. And also very important thing is founders. Is the founder starting the company passionately, or, because he found it and somebody told him to do it kind of thing. We look at that. And the founder should not be one. There should be more than one. That is another one. The third major important thing is, you may have a great idea, but does it have value outside? Say, for example, you discovered some very interesting marker which affects only 1 in a million people, detecting that particular disease. Obviously, it is an important thing. It is a good contribution to the society, but it doesn't have a market value. So you don't want to develop something that doesn't have market value. It might look very business way of looking at it, but that's how it is. It's a business. Startup is a business. So you will have to think of, before you get into deeper into your own development of your technology, try to figure out what is the value, what we call as TAM, total accessible market. Okay, and we call it other terms also, SAM and all that. But what is the total accessible market? Is something that you have to look for before you go spend more money and effort in developing that technology. So these are all the major things. Founders, it should be say there is some innovation in that idea. Third one is, does it have market value? No point in starting unless these three are met.
So that is something very important that we got to know, that something that we should prepare for if we are having any idea, and we should meet these parameters to reach an incubation center. So the next question that I thought of was, if we start a journey, like we have an idea and we are going to build a startup, that journey is definitely going to be very difficult. So we may at times fail and we may not get the definite results that we are expecting. So can you share some setbacks that you faced and something that we all can know?
Okay, this is very important. I want to say, if anyone want to start a startup company, this is the things. There is a Japanese proverb, but I don't know, I'm slightly speaking. If you are in the wrong train, just get down as soon as possible. If the experiment is not working, you don't want to spend a startup company burning your money. You don't want to do it. If it's not working, try a couple of times. If it still is not working, leave that one. That's my sincere advice as a startup company. Because at a later point, it's very difficult to convince the people if you're not straightly answering the question you were looking for it.
So the adding to that is, one of the very important saying in startup language is, fail fast. Don't take too long to fail.
Yeah.
That's what he's saying.
Yeah, exactly. So and one more thing is, always remember, so when you're starting a company, you are not starting a trust. Don't sympathize anything during your startup journey. You have to be strict and every penny is accountable. You can't say, okay, let it go. Then you will go everywhere. So I'm telling that doesn't work at all, especially in biotech startup, because every day is money based work you are doing, you are burning things, because biotech, we import a lot of things from Europe and US. So we are paying twice the price what it's really valued. But I don't know other companies like IT sectors and electronics and everything. This is, I'm saying that the biotech sides. So you're starting a company means you want to make a money. After the making a money, you do whatever you want. During the making a process of money, don't do any trust kind of jobs so early. Okay, this is my request. I can tell you one thing. Novartis makes one of the drug for SMA. So for them is the $10 million is nothing because their budget for R&D is a $10 billion. So giving Indian kids 10 reactions, 10 injections for SMA, India required every year, maybe 10 or 12. For them is nothing, but they don't give it. And even Indian government doesn't damn care about, like, even they don't give a GST exemptions for them. So because once you're doing a business, you stick with what you want to do it. And later point, there is a corporate social responsibility. They will do the rest part. That comes less. But this is the things you have to remember. When you're starting a startup, money-wise, you have to be a very strict person and you have to have financial in charge for your money. So this is my kind advice because sometimes I burn my hands. So think about it.
So thank you, Sudarshan, for informing us like how cautious we should be with our money when we are into a startup business. So now that you are out of AIC and you have started your journey outside and you have become an independent company, how did you navigate the regulatory bodies? Like how did you set up, like how different is a startup from a independent company? Like uh, what are the steps that one needs to take, and is it very easy with the current regulatory rules and everything?
I put it that way because even though current regulatory is easy and everything is in online and everything, but we need to have a team. I can't do everything myself. So we need to have someone who can be seeing that how much balance in the account and how the regulatory body is working and what is the updates is coming from the regulatory bodies, what files need to be filed before it get approved. And because currently we've been developed a lot of patents and it's been granted because our major income is coming from the out licensing the technologies. So we are getting from Europe and US the money. So for us, little simplified because we are not into the product oriented right now because it may take another 2 years because our manufacturing facility is getting ready. Because our most income is from the technology transfer. So our life is little easy. But when it comes to the regulatory market and you are selling a drug or product, then you have to have your 4 pillar in your means a financial person, a BD person, and organizing all of those things as a CEO or a managing director, taking care of all those things. This is the most important because in the biotech sector, every penny you spend, you have to see that how to recover that penny you are spending. Because I can tell you that sometimes in the biotech sector, the people who burn hundreds of millions of dollars, they don't get anything. And sometimes the drug gets success and they get almost 100 times of that price. So there is entire process, how you are going to execute it and how your team is built on that thing. Based on that, you can get success. And initially that okay, we can manage it, the small money and everything. Because if you don't know when your amount is going and whether you have reserved for next 6 months salaries and R&D expenditure, you are going to the negative balance and because you always as the first 4 years in the biotech sector, you don't have any profit at all because you are spending the money, whether it's grant money, whatever it is you are spending, and you don't have anything as a revenue. So no bank give a loan to you if you need it in emergency. So this is a situation you have to understand it. So that's what that amount you are spending, it has to be very cautiously. And this is what is the opportunities, because don't forget it, there is organizations and Indian government specifically offering, because recently we submitted one grant. Cystic fibrosis, they use one enzyme called Pulmosan, that is comes from USA. And it's almost 50,000 rupees per month treatment. Indian government Cystic Fibrosis Foundation want to be alternative enzymes or biosimilar, much affordable with a nozzle spray. We submitted it, we've been shortlisted. We are the only company for submitted it. So there is opportunities. You have to find where you can hit the things and get the money, and sometimes we can run that thing. So you have to think that, because we know that cystic fibrosis is not the major market in India, but sometimes if with the government support, with your research, can be helped and you can have a record that one. So you have to think this way if it's working on that way, because one thing for sure is that you have to have a good team and who can synchronize and what you are doing and everything is been there and keep your company healthy and of course your employees. So if they are happy and they can work for you.
So this brings me to the next question, that what are the current funding landscapes of biotech startups in India? Like how well is it funded, or what are the different steps that we can take to receive funds?
To begin with, when you do a startup, usually you start with your own money to some extent, because because unless you have something to show, other people you can't ask even for a grant or a loan or whatever. You have to have something. So at least for 1 or 2 years, you should be able to support yourself. Usually, the support usually comes from family, friends, and fools. I mean, who give you money to do your own startup. I mean, if you look at it, if it is an IT company, I mean, you can ask your brother or father, ये नहीं हो तो मैं कुछ नहीं करूंगा, ये चाहिए, मुझको 10 लाख दे दो, kind of stuff. Okay, that kind of a thing. Of course, that's how it starts. IT companies require very less investment. The idea is more important than the infrastructure. But for biotech companies or life science companies, you need a bit more money because consumable costs and things like that. So now, that is usually the first thing happens. Maybe for 1 year, you'll have to take care of that. After that, today, in the last 10 years, the government has come up with a lot of schemes where they wanted to support these startups anywhere between 10 to 50 lakhs kind of a grants. But the way he is saying is you have to look out for these things. Like all ministries give, whether it is the Ministry of Department of Biotechnology or Science and Technology or Medical Technology, ICMR, all of them give money, but you have to match your thing to them. So usually you get money from 10 to 40 lakhs kind of a thing, depending upon how good you are. See, one of the most important thing you should remember is if you want to be a startup or an entrepreneur, your communication skills are the most important thing. You should be able to, I know how many of you see Shark Tanks or Whale Tanks or whatever. The time given is very short. You have to convince the judges within a minute. What we call as pitch talk and things like that. Okay, elevator pitches and things like that. So communication and telling your idea very quickly is very important. You should be able to convince your maid about your idea. If you can't convince your maid, housemaid, about your idea, probably you have to improve your communication skills. So communication skills are very important to raise money because people look at that. Your passion comes out of your communication. So the government gives you a lot of money, but small packets, but you have to constantly build your product so that it is more investable. So there are what is called as angel investors that come later on. Once you have a proof of concept, then the angel investors will bring in little bit more money. Usually the angel investments contributions will be 1 to 10 crore kind of a thing. Okay, then comes the real venture capitalists who really put big money if your idea has a lot of value. So, but initially it's your family or your own savings. Then comes some kind of a government grants and things like that. Then comes angel investors or high net worth individuals, or then comes the bigger one. But if you have come up till when angel investors, you have already made it. So your idea becomes your brand. Okay? So this is how usually it happens. And there are, as I said, government also gives you several other schemes where you can go up to 1 crore. But in last 1 year, the numbers have gone up quite a bit high. In fact, they'll give you 50 crores, 100 crores also. There are several programs that are there now. If your technology has come to that stage.
I can just add on that one. So especially if you have an idea, because we are going back to the first question, if you have an idea, the first one you should pitch to your friend. If your friend is convinced your idea, he think that he said that, okay, if I have money, I will invest into a company. That means that you are 50%, your idea is good. Next person, you have to pitch to your parents. So I can tell you, after starting my 3 years company, one of the known investors went and asked my father, like, what your son doing? My father doesn't know anything what I'm doing. Then it took 3 days to train my father, convince him and what exactly I'm doing and everything out. Like, because what happened is one day my son got asthma and he's unable to breathe in my village. So we have to go to the nebulizers and everything. I told that what we are doing is that we are developing an enzyme where we can mucolytic, means it remove all the mucus in the airways, so where he can breathe properly. So I speak the language my father can understand it. So in the before, when I asked my father, I need a money, he said that he will give the money whenever I need it, but he don't know what purpose he's giving to me. So if you really want to convince anything, so first your friends and families is the real good people to listen their feedback, whether it's worthy or not, then you can think about it the next step.
Thank you, Dr. Sudarshan and Dr. Madhu. Now we would like to take questions from the audience if they have any questions.
So you have an oncology startup. You said that you had applied for a grant on cystic fibrosis. So so how did you get to the idea that I can make a drug for cystic fibrosis? Or so where did you get the idea from? Was it from reading, or was it from communicating with the healthcare professionals that there is a need of the hour, that this treatment costs a lot, so I can pitch in there and help decrease the cost of the product? So how did you get the idea of?
So don't misunderstanding with my company name. Actually, my company nothing to do with what I do it. Actually, as per MCA norms, we have to give 3 names. Initially, my company name was something starting with the Biogen, then the Biosimis, and they rejected both names and they're asking me the Oncosimis, because initially we want to develop a monoclonal antibody for oncology. It's called oncology and biosimilars. We break it. It's onco biosimis. Of course, we are working on the few molecules with oncology field. Means 50% of our work is in oncology in the biosimilar sector. And because since we know how to engineer the protein or how can produce in a bulk, so we are working, because overall picture of my company is a protein engineering company, nothing more, nothing less. So we were the engineer the E. coli or mammalian cells. So in E. coli, you might be producing a protein intracellular, but the way we produce is extracellular completely. So the production cost we are bringing down to very minimal. So for example, I can give one thing, T7 RNA polymerase. Current production of T7 RNA polymerase at GMP scale is 1 rupee per unit. So we are producing 1 paisa per unit. That's the difference we are bringing into that. That's we call as a innovation, not the invention. So whatever we're doing, just we're trying to bring the disruptions, bringing the price into the market and where it's required.
So when you get those ideas, are you reading too much, or is it that you already have some contacts with some companies where, like you said, some of the proteins are released into the extracellular matrix or so there have been companies which have made compounds which are secreted out of the cell, right?
Yeah.
So the innovation there, was it just decreasing the cost or increasing the production, or is it a new signal peptide that you have added, or more?
It's a both actually. It's increasing the yield and reduces the cost of the productions. And moreover, since the E. coli is secreting completely, so we can set up a perfusion, so continuously harvesting the product and until it get things. So you end up getting like 4 to 5 grams, maybe 10 grams of protein per liter of culture within a 24 hours, compared to conventional method where you do intracellular less than 100 mg per liter if you are good. And this is a fully folded, there is no inclusion bodies, nothing. Fully properly folded active enzymes or active peptides we are producing. So that price is costing down. And the recently one technology we given to the Reddy's laboratory in India. So where they required a GLP-1 peptide. So we are producing 3 grams per liter for the GLP-1 peptide without any tag, nothing, just 29 amino acid peptides. They directly go to the chemical modifications. They go to for formulations. So since it's very easy to produce these ones, so we are doing that way. So disrupting the production process.
So the same technology that you must have developed for your initial product is then applied for other products, or do you have to keep innovating for newer products? Or like, for example, you must have made...
Yeah, so it's not every protein is the same. So it has its own cysteines, number of cysteines and everything. There's a complexity of the protein, the size of the protein and peptides and everything. We have to work a little bit on the things, but the basic principle is the same for everything. But based on the protein, we change the temperature, reduces the pH, increase the pH. Because when the pH value is the same as where we are running a fermenter, we don't want to, because as soon as secreted, get precipitated. It doesn't make any sense. So we have to play around that point and see that how many cysteines are there and whether it, how much requirement. If we require a homodimer, we need a different signal peptides to do that one. And it's a heterodimer because fragmented antibodies required a heterodimers. So we have to work on that one, how they are forming heterodimers and ideal conditions and everything. Yes, we need to work a little bit on that.
So, see, what he has is protein production either in eukaryotic cells or in bacterial systems. It doesn't matter what is the product. So that's what he mastered. So one of the things he does was, by perfusion, he developed his own device for perfusion, where in a 1 liter or a 5 liter fermenter, he can actually get out something like 50 liters worth of material, as if it is a 50-liter ferment. So these are all the cost cutting. In the end, it is cost cutting. Okay, if you are like, as you know, for COVID time, PCR test initially in 21 costed around 3,500. Okay, and actually it came down to almost 400, 500. You know what is the cost of the consumables in it? If you put all together, oligonucleotides, enzyme and all that, it doesn't even cost 50 rupees. So now,
Now we developed one with the master mix and as a RT and TAC, nucleotides and everything is at 2 rupees 50 paise.
for PCR, that was, we were getting that PCR test done for 3,500. So it's all demand and supply.
So
Anybody else?
So, as you said, we should have to pitch our idea to investors like thing. So for the AIC, how can an individual can pitch the idea for the proposal? Should they require any proof of concept?
No, I mean, see, it's your baby. You're spending your money. I'm only be a mentor and a person who provides the infrastructure. And I just make sure that we act as an advisor to you in terms of making you understand what is the challenges. Like, as I said, did you do market survey? Okay. Do you know that when you develop this, see, any product, for it to be, it'll take 2 years at least. By the time you establish everything, get your approvals, depending upon what the product is. So what value you see today, will that value still exist after 2 years? These kind of simple mentoring we do so that you understand what is around the corner. Because you are fresh in the game, so probably we are there for a little longer. We'll tell you what you should be doing or what questions you should ask yourself. That's all we do.
So will there be regular evaluation of our progress in the AIC? Yeah.
We do that, but most of the people don't like it.
True. And one more thing, regarding a patenting issue, like if a individual have been develop a technology, is it a better, what is the best time for patenting, in a startup time, or else once it became a better tech industry, or else what is the best time, so that as we have discussing that we have discussed something new, so you want to make it in a better product. So patenting has always been a major issue, always everybody face, because patenting laws previously been bit hard, now it been better in India. But what is the best time?
Yeah, see, I
I
tell
want-
you, patent laws are always same. There's no change. Only thing you'll have to make sure is somebody else has done it. Okay. Or is it novel enough? Does it have utility? These are the 3 criteria. Usually utility, you are a best person to judge. Novelty also, you are a best person to judge. But did somebody else has done it? That you will have to get a professional opinion. Once you have that, what we call as freedom to operate. Once you have a FTO document with you, then it'll tell you whether you can patent it or not. Otherwise, it'll be rejected. That's the right time.
Because I just want to add on that one, because we burn our 40% of our income is only patent maintenance. So once it's granted, it's not that easy to maintain the patents. It's like you are pouring, especially every hour, the foreign lawyer charge you close to $250 to $500. And monitoring them, and means nobody is misusing those patents, and thing is again costing you per year close to $5,000 per each patent. So it's not easy, but thing is like, you have a good patent lawyer, priority search before you even file it, spend 25,000 rupees, do the priority search, make sure that your is novel, and they will come up with the adopting things and whether you can modify anything. And they also give the valuation, it's called priority valuation data. Some Indian lawyers give, but most of them Europeans and they give whether is it applicable. Say you discovered, means you identified a novel mutation that can be a diagnosis value. And what is the market value of that one? How much is going to do it? So how much revenue is going to generate it? Because after you're granting the patent, how are you going to utilize that one? Is it too early to patent or too late to patent? So you have to, if you have a good lawyer, they can do best actually.
Thank you.
No questions from this side? Okay, go ahead.
For scaling up your products, people are using E. coli or like yeast for working horses, like as a working horses. Do people are also using plants as a production? And like any of applicants are coming with this idea?
They come and we kind of, they also need some kind of a field. Okay, to grow the crops and things like that. Usually I advise them to go to some other place. Like a lot of people try to make maps from plants and things like that. There are many things you can do from plants. But we had a couple of applicants, but we kind of advise them because they need fields, which we don't have.
So I don't have experience on the plant, but I'm working with one Belgium company called, if you want to Google it, it's called Biosourcing. So they engineered a sheep so that can produce the monoclonal antibody in the milk. You know how much antibody they get it per every liter? These goats give 2 liters milk every day and 5 grams of antibody. Their cost was entire things because there is no upstream process. There is no containment facilities. So they only downstream GMP. So that sometimes the idea is a good, so you can execute it. But when it comes to the market, like because it's an animal origin, there is some regulation in each countries, they has to follow it, and everyone has to follow the rules and regulations. Yeah, plant is good, but we don't know efficacy from the plant and the glycosylation pattern and everything. So we don't know exactly because a lot of people try to do in tobacco and some people try to do in spinach. It depends on the plant to plant because we know that tobacco give better yield for the monoclonal antibody and everything. But the glycosylation pattern is very different and they're getting immunogenic to that actually. So it's not supposed to recognize as a foreign particle when you are neutralizing something, then next injection you're rejecting immediately. So there is no efficacy in there. So you have to consider all those things when you are working with the proteins and everything.
Hello, sir. Good afternoon. I'm myself Anjali. So actually, I'm not from basically biology background. We are all from forensic science background. As you know that the crime has been growing very rapidly, and there is very our India, our country is very we have a lot of incomplete cases in which we found some DNA samples and all, but it's really difficult and it's a long process to get the DNA and all and to solve the crime. So if even though we want to innovate or something else, it's very difficult to pitch the government and to implement those things in the particular crime scene field. So we just want some suggestions from you that how can we pitch to the government even though if we innovate something?
And I'm not deeply into on that one because CCMB work a lot of forensic samples and everything. They know because they have the CDFD is out of from the CCMB, one of them, and they have a lab ones, a lot of things. I don't know depth out because it's all depend on what is the technology. Because nowadays, if you see it, and previously everyone using the blade, and now they're working with the smears, the dried smears. So dried smears has a lot of source with the DNA and RNA, and they are figuring out. Because in India, in such a big country and the large populations, and we don't have a DNA database from the central government. Yeah. If we look at the Europe and US, there is a DNA data banks because when my son born in USA, immediately the day one, they draw some blood from his foot and they map the data and everything, they will keep it there because that started from 2010, 2005 onwards. that hospital doesn't tell, but it goes to data bank and they store the data, make sure that this candidate in the future, something happens and this candidate belongs to US. So those kind of a data, we don't have it, but it's very difficult until unless we don't have it.
The forensic sciences in like, especially, on-site crime side, crime side forensics has not developed so much in India. And so there is a huge scope for anybody to innovate something. So we primarily CCMB is working on wildlife forensics. So here CCMB, like Dr. Madhu and others will also tell that even we are doing workshops in a lot of places. We have workshops in our center as well, where we are doing these workshops, taking how we are teaching the wildlife, the forest officers and all, how to pick up the DNA and all, which I find is not very forthcoming in the police departments. So there is a good scope for you. Once, one of the main things is that, for you guys, you are a lot of from the forensic sciences, is to understand where the actual lacuna is, where there is a need, where you think that, you can develop something which can give the result quicker, faster, and, which is also something which is as good as the gold standard. If you're properly showing that, this is something that is going to save time of the police officer, as well, it is going to be judicially accepted, there will not be so much of a problem for any state department, because normally crimes first come under state and then they go to the center. So you can always pitch to them. It's not like the governments are not buying. They are looking into it. There are in fact departments, even in Telangana, we have departments which actually support these kind of things. So there is nothing like, that the government will not buy, but you have to have proper proof that, what you're developing is as good as the gold standard, and it can, whatever you're doing is going to definitely help.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have a small question. As you have, my question is to Sudarshan, Mr. Sudarshan. So as you had a vision to start a particular project, meaning innovation. So you must have come with good amount of money to start with. Am I right?
Really, I have some money.
Yeah.
Not real good amount, because that time when I started this, I started with the CCMA incubators. There's a pretty much good equipment is there when I started it. So I have to spend the money on the only consumables. I'm very fortunate. I can say thank you to Indian government. I got a grant actually as soon as I started my company. So that's one advantage. Yes. And follow by that one. And because I thank to the Indian government, every step we take it, and we have good support from the Indian government. So because when we went to the scale up for the monoclonal antibody, we got 5.5 crores of grant.
When did you get it? What time? Like you started today?
Yeah.
Okay, you have come, you convinced Madhu, and okay.
Within a 6 months.
Started
within a 6 months.
Within a 6 months.
Yeah. Because before I started my company, I have some basic data.
Okay.
So because it's, as I said, the technical, why we need a technical people is that while working you and there could be a problem or it could be a solution, that's your idea. So you take that bit and pieces, or maybe your publication, whatever it is. So that is your idea. You're pitching that idea.
Yeah.
So that is then you work on that idea, whether it's a bit marketable or it can be commercializable idea or non-commercial idea. So what it can be done.
Yeah. And time and again, you got grants like this to fulfill your...
No, because once we reach that one, we outlicense the technology as a BIRAC requested for the other bigger company. They're manufacturing our products already. So we are working on to other products actually. So that right now we don't have manufacturing facility we are building right now. Okay. So we giving a technology to the other bigger companies to manufacture it.
Okay. Yeah. Madhu, you said you need more than one, who is that innovator? Is that founder? Founder. Why did you say that when...
Two is better than one. That's one, but simply, but as I said, these are all, when we say startup, these are all techno entrepreneurship. That means you have technology and also business. Usually scientists or postdocs or whatever, they are not really business. I mean, they don't have that wherewithal. I'm not saying everybody, but you need to have that knowledge. How do you register your company? How do you have compliances? How do you market your product? These are not part of a scientist who has that kind of a knowledge or familiarity. So always you should have two people who is a techno person, another is a business guy. Otherwise, it's not going to work. As simple as that.
Yeah. And you would be guiding them to get the grants in case.
Obviously, that is our business. We keep telling them where to apply. And also, for example, on 22nd, we are doing a session where we bringing 15 investors and asking our startups to make a presentation. Last time when we did it, out of 12, one got funded.
Yeah, wonderful.
Like that, we keep doing that, expose them to kind of investors so that they will be able to convince them and get some money.
Yeah, even to the government side.
Here we are talking about people who already have a proof of concept.
Yeah.
Pre-revenue. That means they're about to go to revenue, so they need big money. Usually government, nowadays it's giving, but before that they're not giving big money. That means few crores, 3 to 5 crores, 10 crores and all. These investors will give. That's what I said about angel investors.
And one more thing, the government is listening. I can tell you one example with the incubator. So previously DSR recognition. So because when you have a DSR recognition, because we have to pay 18% GST or 28% GST, whatever you buy it. If you have a DSR recognition, not now, before, like 2 years ago, you pay only 5% overall. So because your R&D spend is not like you're not making any revenue. So it's not like a reimbursable GST. So you are saving almost like 13% of your spend. So if you have a DSR recognition, that time I don't have any lab. I was an incubator. So we went with the support of CCME saying that, so you've been funded this incubator and we are spending a lot of money, more than 13% we're supposed to spend, and they give us. That times like DSR says, okay, we are good. So we are amending the entire GO. You don't require any physical lab or anything. So you are in incubator, you can get DSR recognition. We are the first company got the first DSR recognition in incubator. So there is a government listen if there is a valid reason, things in the sector. So there is a reason, actually. I'm telling that they will listen. If you go to the strong defense with why you need it, they will listen.
Okay. Yeah, I think once you are done, you have finished with your innovation and it is ready to come to the market. Again, there is a challenge that you have spent enough amount of money and you will have to make a company, right? So that time again, you will have a support from government and all.
Because when you start a company, you're starting with your company name and everything, because nobody is going to recognize you as a person. Because even CCMB need your entity name, because it's not recognizing you, it's entity, they recognize entity. Is it entity has a capability to do what is the idea you are asking it? So it's not like, I can just go and start in CCMB 1%. And I think they will have some expression style, they can do 1% kind of a thing.
We call them entrepreneurs in residence. We'll give them a couple of months scope for them to, vet their idea and then make something happen. But eventually we more seriously engage with them only when they start a company, not as an individual.
Because Indian government doesn't give anything on individual name at all. Because it's the same. If I have idea and I want a grant from Indian government, they also, which institute you are belongs to? Or do you have any, which company you are belongs to? So you need to have some address to where is the government can recognize you.
Okay. Do you guys have any forensic guys have any ideas?
So for example, they mentioned that India does not have DNA banks. And without DNA banks, looks like forensic work gets different.
Not a bad idea.
DNA bank, do you think that's an entrepreneurial scope or that's something that the government should do for the entrepreneurs to even take on?
See, again, your data, our database or whatever library that you have, if it has value and somebody wants it, then yes, why not? Like, for example, CDFD has a database, a library of basmati rice varieties. Okay. So that's their stock. Now people go, and before you have to get an export license, then you have to go and get your stock evaluated by CDFD, and they'll tell you which variety it is, and then you can export it. So then it becomes a serviceable thing. If the DNA that you collect has somebody wants it, standard ones, and it's a market. Like for stem cells, for example, today, If you have a good stem cell library, well characterized, it's a big business. Like that, you can do cell banks, tissue samples. All major hospitals make big money by storing the tissue samples of the patients that come to them. Huge business. Because drug companies wants to test on these samples before they take it to the next level. These are all opportunities which you have to look for.
Come up with an idea where you just get your DNA results in say matter of 1 hour in the site of whatever happened. Actually. So that will be like you rolled out to it because recently you see when the bus accidents happen, they take wait for the 3-4 days to get all the DNA results and before they hand over to the respective family. And if you do it in quicker, that's a good idea actually.
So I'll tell you, because you're forensic guys, there was some interesting idea that happened with one of our faculty by name Umapati. Maybe you must have met him today. I don't know. Okay. Ajay, okay. Umapati did a work during Dasara time in Mysore on the scat samples of elephants. They collected the dung before Dasara, during Dasara, and after Dasara, and estimated the stress hormone. He has a method to estimate the stress hormone. He realized during the Dasara time, because of the processions and all that, he realized that the stress on the animal goes up. You don't show, but it's very stressed. So the stress hormone levels went up very high. So he wrote a paper. But then I went and asked him, the biology is same across all animals. Can I use, today if you ask, a lot of people have dogs, have pets. How much do you know whether your dog is under stress? Other than behavioral way, you can't judge. Only an expert veterinarian can tell you whether your dog is happy with you or a cat is happy with you. Then I told him, why don't you start a company where you take this scat sample of a dog and estimate the stress hormone in it. It's a direct biochemical way of assessing the stress. It's a huge business. In the West, it will sell like cakes. I mean, like so he never took it up. But what I'm trying to say is, that's a great opportunity. He didn't have guts, I didn't have guts. But it should have been done. Because pets is a very big deal in the Western countries. And if I can tell my pet is happy with me, they'll pay you hundreds of dollars to do. Can I make a business? Unfortunately, we didn't do it. So there are opportunities like this. It might look like, maybe, it's a great idea. For example, there was one guy sitting here and he left. He's a PhD student. He works on RNA, enzymes on RNA thing. Today, there are very important drugs called siRNA, and some of you may be knowing. It's made chemically, but this guy is trying to make them enzymatically, so that all the modifications in the siRNA, he can do it on his own. It's a very interesting idea. If it works out, it's a billion-dollar company, because there are at least half a dozen siRNA drugs which are already approved, and if you can make them much more safely, non-chemically, it's a great idea. So if you have confidence, pull it off.
So that was really a very engaging and enriching discussion that we had here. We discussed about different challenges in entrepreneurship and how centers like AIC CCMB can step up and help the young innovators to become good research, to become innovators from researchers. So we thank our guests, Dr. Sudarshan and Dr. Madhusudan, for joining us and sparing some time so that we could get good information about these things. Thank you all for joining. Thank you.
Our last statement is, don't be a job seeker, be a job creator.
And one thing I can tell you that one, if you know any companies called Roche, that the annual budget of R&D is $25 billion. That is the more budget than the state budget. Think about it. There is a lot of opportunity for you.
Thank you. Thank you, David. Thank you for allowing these people to join this. Yeah.